thank you everyone for being here. And I think this is going to be a very exciting topic on the next retail destination, which is moving beyond the metros to the real Bharat. And of course, I think everyone's got their view on what real Bharat is, but I think it's safe to say that it is an extremely important part of future growth and also current consumption for a lot of retail, consumer businesses, and these businesses in general. So it's an extremely important top of mind subject. I think we have a very, very diverse and accomplished set of panelists here. And before I start, I'll just take 30 to 40 seconds to just summarize a few key points by way of context. And this is from a report that Bain published with the World Economic Forum a few years ago. And while there were many themes, there were 4 key themes which I think are very relevant and which we will build upon in this conversation today. I think the first is that India is going to grow. We all know this. But the interesting statistic is that upper and middle income households, which are 1 in 4 today, will be 1 in 2 in 2030. So 50% of the population will be what you classify as mid and high income, upper mid and high income households. And just in terms of the absolute quantum, that's about 200 million households getting added. So I think that's one interesting starting point. But then you contrast that with the fact that growth is still going to be dispersed. So it's not just about growth from Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and the other metros, but really all over the place. So you will have developed rural coming in, you'll have boom towns, you'll have the next set of metros, if you will. And what we're also seeing in many categories is that the gap in brand preference, the gap in investment or income levels, expenditure levels between urban and rural is actually diminishing. So growth will come everywhere, and definitely the real Bharat will be a big component in that. Third, Gen Z and millennials, far more informed, research their choices, have stronger points of view, so they're absolutely reshaping how brands think about the conversations they want to have with their consumers. And finally, digital, we all talk about it, but really, digital has democratized access to information and to product. So both in terms of how brands now get built, how consumers, and in fact, I think, Ravi had a very good story where his new coffee maker today, he sold 3 pieces, and they were all from the next set of towns, and he'd done very little or no marketing. So there's clearly this flywheel where consumers in smaller towns and in rural are through digital able to access information and then through e-commerce access product. So in that context, I think the next set of towns very, very important. And before I get to specific questions, and of course there are quite a few of those, let me just open it up to the panel, and maybe we start with Ravi on the left. Just in terms of how do you see this opportunity for your business, and equally what are some of the challenges, for Wonderchef, but also maybe more broadly for the industry?
Thank you so much. It was very interesting to hear the people speaking about what is real Bharat. And I think real Bharat is such a combination of all the things that was said. छोटे शहरों का हिंदुस्तान, जहाँ पे शायद लोग अंग्रेजी इतनी अच्छी नहीं बोलते हैं, they're still in touch with their roots, which is the real thinking of India. So I think beautiful definition, gave me a lot of food for thought. What is beautiful about that part of the country, which is, I think, the heart of the country, is that I think people are more at peace than what they are in the metros. A lot of us have come to the metros from small towns to build our careers. And the typical journey of a professional in a metro is that first 10 years you struggle hard to be able to save some money and have the guts to invest in your home, in your apartment. And the next 20 years you spend in paying the EMI for that apartment. And there goes your career. And yes, some people make money and they become target customers for premium brands like us. But what is happening in Bharat 2.0 is revolution. There, People are not having to spend money on their first home because they're living with the parents, which keeps our unique family fabric alive as a country. They stay with their parents, they're serving them, the kids grow up with grandparents, which I love. Second, the number of kids in the last generation has come down drastically. In my parents' generation, it used to be 5 to 10 kids per household. In our generation, it came down to 2 to 3 kids, and now it's coming down to an average of 1.5 to 2 kids, even in Bharat 2.0, even in the villages, even in the towns. And that is allowing for much more wealth, disposable income available in these hands, and that is the opportunity we are really talking about here today. So you're absolutely right. I mean, we launched this machine, and the price was not mentioned. It is a 92,000 rupee machine, fully automatic coffee maker. We launched it day before yesterday. We got 3 orders on day 1. We got 4 orders yesterday. All 4 of them from small towns. We were blown away. We think of ourselves as a premium brand. We think perhaps we are more suited to the metros. But here are people who have aspiration, who have disposable income, and who actually take the decision faster than people in the metros. The towns were Warangal, Wardha, Bijnor, and Ajmer. All tier 3 towns, respectfully. So I think a revolution is happening, and as brands, we have to be able to reach out to those people, both in terms of marketing, as well as in terms of service and distribution, so that we can tap this amazing potential. And as we know, economy is nothing but a cycle. The more consumption is there, the more wealth will be generated there. And that is where the China moment of India will come from. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. And I think just that anecdote of the 4 coffee machines at 92,000 is it's a very good example. It kind of encompasses, I think, we'll get into details, but that's a great headline for, I think, the discussion today. And also super relevant then for Libas, right, Sidhant, in terms of, you've built a digital first, and in fact, digital native D2C and, marketplace brand. How are you thinking about, not just for your business, but more broadly in this space? How would you go to the next set of towns? Obviously, digital we've spoken about is getting, very, very prevalent, both in terms of information as well as commerce. So would love to hear your perspectives on the opportunity, digital and otherwise, and also some of the challenges you're facing.
So, as we all know that retail for most parts of the years have been mostly unorganized. So, but what we've seen in the last few years is that that trend is changing as newer people are coming in, like somebody said, millennials and Gen Z. So the way people are reacting to brands has completely changed, because today we are in an age where the content that people are consuming in metros or tier 2 or tier 3 cities is almost the same, right? Everybody's on the same Instagram, they're following their same celebrities, they're following their same influencers. So we actually have a very fair ground where aspiration towards the brands that were earlier not available in those tier 2 and tier 3 cities, with e-commerce, with digital coming in, it's actually very accessible, and it's not something out of reach for people in tier 2, tier 3 cities like it was, say, 10 to 15 years back. And what's good to see is post-COVID, I mean, we are doing a lot of study in terms of influencer activities, and we've seen there are a lot of, we look at the big ones, big celebrities, big influencers in the metros, but where actually the new crowd is coming in, there are so many local, regional influencers people, for example, certain colleges have aspiration towards, and that content is doing well, and those are the ones who are actually growing out. I mean, as brands, we did a small capsule to target smaller cities. We wanted to see how people are engaging and reacting to influencers. So, and that campaign did really well to us. And another thing that we tried was we did one small capsule collection where we said, let's target the Gen Z audience. product was more focused towards Gen Z. The photo shoots were focused more towards Gen Z, and we actually saw that the shoppers were not just from the metro cities. 40 to 45% of the sales were coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. And I think it's got to do with the same thing, that people are consuming the same content across India. There is no differentiation anymore. And as I mean, in years to come, we see that it's going to be a flat line where we won't be able to differentiate much between the tier 2, tier 3 cities and the metros.
I think thanks for sharing that, and absolutely, I think especially on the influencer piece, we've seen a lot of organizations now pivot and spend more time on micro and nano influencers and actually in vernacular. And we've seen that work not just on mass brands, but on premium brands. So absolutely, I can see why that's an important part of your marketing plan. So, wow, Momos. I remember in an interview you said that it was very popular in Calcutta and Delhi, and that was your thinking. But now you have 500 stores in, 25 plus towns, and you're thinking, maybe you're expanding too slowly. So tell us a bit more about that.
No, in my head, I think my vision is very clear that Domino's, which is run by Jubilant, which is a role model brand for me, if they can convert a roti-eating country into a pizza-eating country and sell 400 rupees pizza in 300 cities, that's how big the market is, right? So for me, the real Bharat is the aspirational Bharat, In the food business, it goes by the word of mouth. And in today's day and age, the word of mouth has become the word of social media. So the advent of internet has just grown this aspiration within tier 2, tier 3 cities to go out there, express themselves. They want brands to come in. They have the money. So if you ask me as a retailer what the real Bharat is, as a retailer, the real Bharat is where you make profits, where you have high sales, where the ROI is there, where the consumer has huge regard and respect for the product, and most importantly, there's brand loyalty. So like how we mentioned that we still have our roots fitted in there, and we are thriving, we are growing. I wouldn't call the real Bharat वो कम इंग्लिश बोले या ज़्यादा इंग्लिश बोले मुझे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता. I think in today's day and age, it's more about having that opportunity to go out and express themselves. And the real Bharat is where, there's this marriage of opportunity, marrying availability, marrying, the right fit for the right product and the right brand happening. And you see malls thriving in the real Bharat. You see, so for us, वो बोलते हैं ना दांत में खून लग गया. For us, like a tiger, we feel like, tier 2 it is. Just go out there and ramp up stores, grow, because, you have to look at profitability. So I think how India operates is a pyramid approach. So if you have to be successful in North India, you have to first be in Delhi NCR, build your brand. But once the brand building is done, the whole of North will literally move like a pyramid approach, and that's how you grow. Same is for East, it's Calcutta. For South, it's Bangalore, Chennai. For West, it's Bombay. And in today's day and age, they have the money, they have the disposable income. They want brands to come in. They want brands to, when I opened my first store in Bhubaneswar, I remember in 2017, I had a queue outside my store because there was only KFC and Domino's there. There was no other food brand there. So imagine the amount of respect, we as a homegrown brand got when we entered there. Ideally you would see a queue outside a McDonald's store coming in a city or a KFC store coming in a city. So that's the emotional or the satisfaction level that the real Bharat has from brands, or expectations that they have from brands. So I think the opportunity is huge. In India, every city is like a country in a country, and I think we are not just the decade, we are the future, we are the century.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up, and I love the point on, and I think Sidhant, you made it earlier when we were chatting before, on how if you start in the metros, you tend to be able to build aspiration in the smaller towns without necessarily being present there. Do you think that's been a big, Bhubaneswar example, the fact that you've been around in markets close by in the cities, do you think that was a big factor? Or did you do a lot of marketing?
Because today, earlier people would come to the city so if there's a marriage in the house, they would come to the main city, like people from Bhubaneswar would come to Calcutta and shop. As e-commerce developed, as social media developed, they exactly got to know on internet what is available, what is not available. So you didn't even have to travel. So they exactly know what is available where, and you aspire to uplift yourself, you aspire to have a better lifestyle, to enhance your standard of living. And that's where I think aspiration plays a key role, because the disposable income that you have, you want to enhance your standard of living. You want to consume products that are not available to you, but when they are made available to you, the regard, the respect, the love that you have for them, you want to go out there and completely, utilize it to the fullest. So I see a lot of that happening. When we opened our first store in Patna, the biggest mall in Patna just opened a couple of months back, which was City Center. It had record numbers, record sales. You could see queues going up to from the food court, which was on the 3rd floor till the 2nd floor. As if hum free mein khana de rahe hain. And it's not that. People are queuing up to actually pay and enjoy that experience. For them, it's like a mall has opened in my city, which is brilliant. And Patna is the capital city of one of the most populated states in the country. And wahan pe hum pehla mall abhi dekh rahe hain, which is surprising. So I think, if you ask me honestly, I think we're a little delayed in this journey. We should have come to the tier 2 city maybe 3-4 years ago. But theek hai, der aaye, durust aaye, and this is where the future is.
Excellent, thank you. Now turning to Akhil and Madame, of course, we've all heard of this brand. If I'm not mistaken, you have a stated intent of, how can half your business going ahead come from smaller towns? Could you tell us a little bit more about that? And especially because we've spoken a little bit about digital and influencers and so on, but there is an offline machinery that's important as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, thanks, Rohit. So Madame as a brand, we've been in the market for almost 30 years now, and we've been retailing as a standalone entity in about 80 cities, and out of which I would say 60% are tier 2, tier 3, even tier 4 towns. And otherwise, we are retailing in more than 100 cities through department stores and local regional retailers. So what we've always thought and what we think is the real Bharat is something which has got a lot of aspiration. So as we've been talking with Wow Momos or with Wonderchef, that he's able to sell 100,000 rupee machine in Ajmer, which is a tier 3 town, and so that is because of aspiration. And when then aspiration, which has been built through being digital first, or through seeing those stores in the high-end malls of Mumbai or Delhi, and when they have access to the same particular experience back in their town, so their aspirations get accessibility. And that's why we end up seeing queues and this and that. The experience of Wow Momos, so we opened one of the stores in Indore. Obviously, I'll not term it as a tier 3 town, but again, it's comparatively a smaller town than the metros. So we had this girl, Sophie Chaudhary, opening that store, and I could see there were like 30,000 people surrounding the place. The people had actually, gone just in front of a car that, we don't want you to go away from that. So that is something they've been seeing her or any celebrity like that on the television, on the digital media. But when they see it in actual, through their eyes, they feel very different. So this is, what I think the real Bharat is, where their aspiration is getting a lot of access.
Excellent, thank you. And Anupam, your perspectives, and I think Liberty is already doing very well in the smaller, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, in the north, tier 2 and tier 3 are, I think, larger than tier 1 in terms of business contribution. So would love to hear your little bit the journey on how that happened and any learnings that you can share with the audience.
Sure. So I think most of the people are aware of Liberty brand, and it has been in the market since 80s, I would say. And the journey has been very interesting. Initially, Liberty launched with a very premium outlook, more focused on metros. I think that's what was the real India at that point of time, because people were looking for more organized setup, more mechanized manufacturing. And the way India has developed, I think the real India looks like in tier 2 and tier 3, because the consumer, I think most of the people are staying there, and the growth potential in the tier 2, tier 3 markets are a lot more encouraging for brands like us. We were using the word real. I think real India and real people. So today the trend is people are looking at real stories. If you look at even cinema, people are not looking at fake stories. People understand fake stories, and they are looking for real content. Now, the pleasure the consumer is getting with the penetration of brands like us into smaller towns, the feel they get, the attachment they get that the brand is available over there, gives a lot more pleasure to them, and especially with the online sales getting extended. The shopping is an experience for most of the consumers. And it creates happiness while we are consuming the product. They are not really buying mostly for need-based. It is more desire-based. And reaching to those customers and creating that emotional connect is, I think, the real shopping experience. And that's what drives the brand and in contributing to the happiness and the growth journey of people. I think that's what Liberty is. And recently we launched a new athleisure brand called Leap 7X, which is again driven from the new fashion category and how you take that fashion to the real India in the price points which is relevant to them. I think it makes the brand acceptable, relevant, and the huge growth potential comes from those towns.
It's very insightful, thank you. And as you went from what you defined as what earlier maybe have been the real India, which was the metros, from your perspective at least, to the smaller towns, did you have to change very much in terms of pricing, product offering, the way you did your stores or your marketing? What are 3-4 sort of insights around what changed? Because we've also seen, we're seeing, and I spoke about it earlier, which is the divide between urban and small town and rural is coming down. So there are actually more and more similarities emerging. But in your case, therefore, was it largely the same approach, or did you have to change a lot around, the product, marketing, etc.?
So definitely, it is a lot of evolution journey. So we realized that with a single brand, it becomes very difficult to attract all the customers. So we moved to a multi-brand strategy where few brands were focused to the premium segment and few brands were focused to I would say, the mass segment. So it is important that the same brand sometimes cannot address to everybody's needs and desires. So we have a brand called Healers, which is more comfort focused, more urban focused, and there could be a brand, Leap 7X, which is slightly more urban focused. And we would have a sports shoe brand, which is a lower price point by the name of Force 10, by name of Gliders, AHA, which is open footwear, bin category. So you need to differentiate, different brands targeting to the specific need rather than addressing everything to the same brand because it may have a conflict between the customer base. So I think that is important. The second thing is, in terms of the marketing distribution channel, Liberty exclusive showroom is something which is more premium, which is available in more tier 1 to tier 2, and not really tier 3 because, it becomes difficult to maintain retail store standards there. So you need to come with a different model whereby the showroom, I would say the fit outs are not so intimidating for customers to go in. They find their own comfort. They find themselves in a more comfortable environment, but not in a very plush environment where they feel, odd being spotted there. So I think you need to have, from the product mix to the location to even channel partner strategy, it needs to be different because the retail cost in urban towns are very different to the small towns. And so you need to be aware of all these factors, and that's what will bring growth and business profitability in the business.
Thank you very much, super helpful. And Sagar, similar question to you on WOW. In the Bhubaneswar store, or maybe the next set of stores that you're going to, what's similar and what's different versus a store in a Calcutta or a Delhi or a Bombay?
I think we, being a model where we've been trendsetters, so 5 years ago people would ask me, कि क्या Momos Tamil Nadu में बिकेगा, Chennai में बिकेगा, Coimbatore में बिकेगा, but I think as an entrepreneur, it's your job to set a trend, right? Like I said, Domino's converted a roti eating country into a pizza eating country. So I think we go by the same cut, copy, paste model. We don't really make changes. We believe in setting that trend. And somewhere we feel that, we have that pep. So we are not a brand from abroad, right? Where we open a store and in a metro city and, you see queues coming in. So we have, for us, brands are built in the mind of the consumer. So, you have a flashy signage, yellow color. You want the eyeballs to roll. We do the same thing even in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. The only difference there is that there they already know about the brand. It's just that, you make your store attractive. You try and keep it as similar as how it is in the metro cities because you want to give them the same feel, the same experience. Why should they feel deprived of a more inferior store as compared to, what is there in the metros. So, as a company policy, we just don't open brand stores in a Park Street in Calcutta or in a Lincoln Road in Bandra. We will also open a brand store in say in a Boring Road in Patna, which is the Park Street of Patna, or the CP of Patna. So I think you need to have brand stores in these cities. You need to have mall stores. You need to have other high street stores, which are your residential stores or market stores. So we go by the same model. You will see the same kiosk, the same high street mini store, the same high street maxi store, the same food court store. So we work in 4 formats, and we believe in doing all the 4 formats depending on what the location desires for. But we will not differentiate between the look and feel or the appeal of the store as compared to a tier 2 or a tier 3. At the same time, we believe in creating that value for money for the consumer, and we will have that 99 rupee Momo or an 89 rupee Momo available in a metro city as well as in a tier 2 city. We will not change the menu because we feel that, they are willing to pay for it, for that experience, and it's more about the experience. You don't want to go to their city and make them feel inferior. So we've never done that. Rather, we've always believed that our customers are biggest celebrity, and we always use a local guy to, be a brand ambassador. So, if it is, someone from Bihar, if you're opening in Bihar, someone from Bihar. If you're opening in Odisha, it has to be someone who's Odia, who comes and launches your store, who gives in that real feeling. So I think, you go traditional, you go local, and you create that local vocal kind of a feel, and that's how you build your brand. And ultimately, in our business, the product has to be good, the service has to be good. As long as you can map that, the consumer is there to come back. So you have to win more loyal customers, less lapsed customers, and very few lost customers.
Very interesting. So largely same product, similar price, similar store experience. It's the same as urban. That's very interesting. And you're still seeing very high demand. So you're not feeling the need that the 89 become a 69 or a, very interesting. And Ravi, what about in your case at Wonderchef, which is, of course, already got, I would say this premium-ish positioning? How are you thinking, and of course the data on the 92,000 rupee coffee machines, that's still blowing my mind, that may change things. But beyond that, how are you looking at your product mix, maybe your lead SKUs, how you do marketing? So, similar question as I asked Sagar, what's going to be the same, what's going to be different?
Yeah. No, very good question, because 4 machines selling in tier 3 towns does not mean that, everything is hunky-dory. Har roz Diwali nahi hoti. So, volumes are made with the masses. While there will be exceptions, and there is always the lead customer who is the first, innovator, and they will tap into new things. But जब masses आपको big volume करना है, where we are going to be 1,000 crore brand in a couple of years, और उस type का अगर volume आपको इंडिया में करना है, so you need masses to invest in your product, invest in your brand. And there we absolutely analyze very deeply that what is selling in metros, what is selling in Bharat 2.2. And I'll give you an example. So one of our most famous products is our blender, which we innovated for India, NutriBlend. That standalone is the largest single selling SKU in mixer grinders, which is the biggest category in kitchenware. But it does not sell very well in tier 3 towns, tier 4 towns. And the reason is very interesting. There's an aspiration. People come to see it in the MBOs where we are present. But because it is transparent with polycarbonate jars, they're unbreakable. But the trust factor is missing. कि टूट गया तो क्या होगा? हम तो यहाँ बिहार में बैठे हैं, कोयम्बटूर में बैठे हैं, service कैसे मिलेगा? Though we have service across India, but the trust factor takes time. And I think that is also the slight difference between consumables like Wow Momo, because you enjoy it in the moment, you are being guaranteed a quality delivery right in front of your eyes, versus a durable, जो आप खरीद के चले जाओगे, and it has to service you for next 2 to 5 years. So the trust factor is very important. So there, people are still buying our traditional mixer grinders with the 3 steel jars. कि ये तो चलेगा भाई. कुछ problem हो गया तो ये repair हो जाएगा हमारी repair shop पे. ये NutriBlend पता नहीं क्या करेंगे हम. So I think this is a very good insight for us also as a company, and that leads to our change in strategy also. So again, we are known for our pans, high quality non-stick cookware. We introduced colors in the market for the first time, and yet in small towns, people buy black. Because कहीं ना कहीं mindset है कि color में spotting अगर आ गई, black में तो spotting आएगी नहीं, खाने का रंग दिखेगा नहीं, हल्दी का दाग दिखेगा नहीं. लेकिन अगर कहीं पैन में कुछ spotting आ गई, red color वाला है तो उसमें blue निशान पड़ गया तो खराब लगेगा. So there we still sell predominantly black pans. And that tells us that tier 2 towns are not yet metro towns because the trust factor is missing. E-commerce is changing things though, because people today have the power. Today, if our call center, the service center does not respond in time, when my mail ID is everywhere. When people search, you can easily get the mail ID of any one of the CEOs of any company today. I get a mail, the first mail is, oh, we sent the message to your call center day before yesterday, we have no response. आप एक्शन ले रहे हो या मैं सोशल मीडिया में जाऊं? So today everyone and some smarter ones say, then we will meet in consumer court. So today people everywhere know this language, and as durables, we have to be very, very careful what we sell, the quality. So just taking on the question you asked, Sagar, quality-wise, we do not compromise at all. We know the purchasing power in the masses is naturally lower. We may try to tweak the features, but our quality will be the same. The guarantee and the service level will be the same. And yet, yes, we have to tweak the product mix, the model mix.
Very helpful, thank you. What about pricing? Do you think that's going to be, and maybe we learn as we go, but do you see the need for differential pricing in the next set of towns for your products, or?
Look, a particular model, a particular product will have the same price across India, because today on our website, on Amazon, it's exposed. So the pricing of a product will be the same, but the product mix will change. So if I am selling a pan with, let's say, 4 mm thickness in a metro town, or let's say that happens to be the highest selling model, my 3 mm pan, which may be 15% cheaper, will be the first or highest selling model in a smaller town. If a Nutri-Blend, which punches above its weight in terms of pricing, it's an expensive machine for the compactness that it has. छोटे टाउन में लोग आज भी देखते हैं बड़ा है तो बेहतर है, तो वहां पे जो मेरा 3,000 रुपए का न्यूट्रीब्लेंड दिख रहा है, पीपल थिंक इसमें पूरी वैल्यू नहीं मिल रही, ये बड़ा वाला लेंगे तो वैल्यू मिलेगी. तो वो माइंडसेट्स हैं अभी. A few coffee machines notwithstanding, जैसा मैंने कहा कि हर रोज दिवाली नहीं मनती है, हर रोज क्रिसमस नहीं आती है, there will be some green shoots like this. There is aspiration. But जो masses हैं, उनके पास आज भी, लेकिन, I'll say something very important. I think we are missing one very important point here, and it just came to me. That in the last 3 years, there has been this huge movement towards consumption and growth in tier towns. And we all know the reason why, because due to the pandemic, there was reverse migration. And when people who were earning well here or had exposure, people who had worked in Sagar's QSRs, who had worked in Libas and Liberty, when they went back to their towns, they saw the government is doing the direct benefit transfer. They're getting some money in their bank account because Jan Dhan accounts have happened. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make a political statement for Modi ji's achievements, but it just so happened that these things happened at the right time. Direct benefits transfer, the Jan Dhan, free ration was being provided. We see, because when we see promoters, we have over 400 promoters in our stores, people left their jobs, and they are well settled in their hometowns. And you know what they're doing? They're taking franchisees of small cafes. They're opening up small stores. And I feel very delighted, because this is where the growth of India will come from. All through my career, I heard the promise of small town India. But it never happened, It was only limited to those top 8, top 10 cities. But in the last 2 years, I can see that. And a small anecdote, it's become very difficult to find live-in maids, and we are used to having them in Bombay. So we were, they left us and went back, and somebody, जैसे आपका security guard society का बोलता है, madam हमारे यहाँ कोई है. So some girl from Kanpur was supposed to join us. And a week before joining, she says कि मेरे को ना ट्रेन में नहीं आना, मेरे को अच्छा नहीं लगता है, सिक्योर नहीं लगता है, आप मेरे को फ्लाइट का टिकट दोगे तो ही आऊंगी. And we asked her, कभी फ्लाइट में कभी बैठी हो आज तक? नहीं. So anyway, क्या करते? फ्लाइट का टिकट दे दिया. अब उसको इतना मजा आया. Unfortunately, yesterday evening, her grandmother passed away, and she says, मेरे को जाना है, फ्लाइट का टिकट दो वरना मैं छोड़ के जा रही है. So ये कॉन्फिडेंस आ गया, and I don't feel bad about it because I love it. कि जो बेचारी लड़की जिसने शायद 5वीं 6वीं तक पढ़ाई कर रही है and she is coming to Bombay to work, she has the confidence to ask for a flight ticket and she is indeed flying. तो ये चीज सारे कंजम्पशन पैटर्न्स में रिफ्लेक्ट करेंगे नीचे जाके. Today she will have confidence to walk into a wow. It happened actually. So day before we went to Bandra for a dinner and when we came back she was not at home. And we asked कहाँ गई थी? वो डी-मार्ट तक गई थी. हमने कहा तेरे को क्या करना है डी-मार्ट में? नहीं उसके सामने आइसक्रीम काउंटर है ना, वो आइसक्रीम खाई मैंने. So look, and she was 1 week old in Bombay. Imagine, okay? And then I said चलो तुम खाना खा लेना, हम लोग खा के आए. नहीं भैया मैंने तो वहाँ डोसा सामने मिलता है वो भी खा लिया. This is news, no? This is such good news for people marketing to these people because I wouldn't have thought 10 years ago or even 5 years ago my mates or drivers will have the confidence to go and eat a dosa in a sit-down place. So I think that revolution is here and now.
No, I think thank you for sharing. And the same question maybe to in the apparel category, and I'll maybe start with Akhil first and then Sidhant after. What's going to be different and what's going to be same in terms of your product offering, pricing, assortment as you think of expansion?
See what happens. How we talk about premiumization, as the morning panel was talking about, that India is getting premium also, the aspirations are having going up. And what about selling a business as a commodity? So for example, somebody like us or apparel brands who are targeting the millennials or the early Gen Zs, so they are the customer who wants premiumization at a very accessible price. So while we talk about having a store in, say, a Palladium, Mumbai, and also in a Kullu, Himachal Pradesh, what we realize that assortment doesn't vary much. It's hardly a 2 or 3% of the assortment that changes because of the demographic of this place. Maybe they want something, hip covering or something, but that's true. There's a very small percent. And as a brand, as a company, as a distribution house, I have to actually see that if I'm in the business of selling a story, because ultimately, as a product, so everybody makes the product. India is a big hub of garment manufacturing. So now everybody can make this blazer. But when I sell it as a story, so this is what inspires the customer. So at times I have to let go of a little chunk of customers who might not be right for that because they want it cheaper, or they want it longer, or they want a different pattern. So this is where a brand or maybe a positioning comes into play that, okay, even if I'm in a small town like a Kullu or a Mandi in Himachal Pradesh, so this is the assortment I want to do. They would say, sir, aap ye double XL, triple XL ka cardigan de do, yahan par women's are slightly heavier on the side. But then once you start servicing that customer, why would another customer walk into your store? Because ultimately, being such a big country of 1.3 billion people and a very disposable incomes coming high every now and then, so customer to har tarah ka available hai aapke paas. Now, it is as per your own ideology and all your brand positioning and brand stories is, which kind of customer you have to actually target and who is your secondary and tertiary customers. So as a brand, we take care of it a lot for the positioning part that, yes, I know this customer might go away, but then new customers also coming up. Somebody, as a youngster, when I was in college, when I was in school, then college, so my brands kept changing with my own confidence and my own disposable income. So when I was dependent on just my father, I would still buy whatever he would, give it to me. As an independent entrepreneur, so my aspirations have changed. So certain brands only target me. For example, in the morning we were talking about airline industry, for example. So somebody who is very loyalty pro, they would stick to 2 airlines across their travel plans because they are so accustomed to experience, and the airlines would repay back to that customer in terms of maybe your business class tickets or maybe some holidays, something. This is the relation. Now I have to come from Delhi to Mumbai. I have got multiple options, about 12 airlines which service me, but I would still tweak my time a little to, fly on a particular airlines. So this is what positioning does. So assortments, so when we talk about apparel products, maybe a juicer mixer grinder. So is it the same customer? For example, in your category, we have a brand called Vitamix, which is the biggest brand globally. Now they're selling a mixer grinder for $799. That starts from it. And, that's the positioning. So they don't want other people, they don't want them as customers. They want a very set chic, set of customers. And the assortment is like that always.
Very interesting. And clearly, I think the one theme that keeps coming through in what everyone's saying for me is this point around aspiration, that it is not about, value or price. I mean, that's maybe one of the factors, but really it is about building, I think, a similar level of aspiration, customized, but the aspiration needs to be there even for the next set of towns and for rural. Sidhant, your thoughts on this?
So what I feel is, as brands, we essentially sell two things, right? One is experience, and then the second is the product. So as a consumer, if I'm from a tier 2, tier 3 city, and if I aspire to have that brand in my city, I would want the brand to replicate the exact same experience in my city as well, right? That's what I'm waiting for, that's what I'm looking forward to. So from an e-commerce point of view, how the customers behave differently from metros and tier 2, tier 3 is because metro customers have been accustomed to e-commerce for, I think, 7 to 8 years. They were also hesitant. If I talk about 7 years back, 6 years back, they were as hesitant buying online as probably what tier 2, tier 3 consumers were till like 1 or 2 years back. So we've got that push post-COVID, but how we look at it differently, that the consumer in tier 2, tier 3 city, it's like they're stepping up the ladder. So when they kind of want to experience a brand, they obviously don't want to spend high volumes or high amounts to kind of purchase products, right? So their comfort is developed by buying something that is fairly cheaper. Like, for example, we as a fashion brand have assortment starting from, say, 1,000 rupees going up to 10,000 rupees. So obviously we don't expect a new consumer who's not experienced the brand before to straight away go for something that's for 10,000 rupees. So it's like literally how you go for a party and you don't know anybody there, and when you enter you're uncomfortable, right? So you'll slowly see that half an hour later you end up eating everything, because that's the time when you actually get comfortable. So it's very similar for consumers. So how we look at it is that we know one consumer will come in, he won't spend that kind of money. So when we target our ads as well, we target, say, smaller ASP or lower ASP products to the tier 2, tier 3 customers. But we know eventually, as confidence gets built into that consumer, he will end up and he'll go up the ladder. So like you rightly said, that people don't have the trust. It takes time for them to trust people, right? So we have India as a country has been mostly unbranded. We've been dominated by products. For example, till 6-7 years back, we only used to have Momos at a stall in any of the local markets, right? Suddenly with brands like Wow Momos coming in, we have that now. We have that confidence that this one might not be good, but now that I've experienced Wow Momos, if it's good, it is going to be good. And wherever I see Wow Momos, I would like to have that, right? So it's similar for fashion products as well. People kind of develop confidence and then they climb up the ladder to kind of spend more. But when it comes to experience, as brands, I think we should have the exact same experience across, because that's how we are known for as being brands, right? So.
Yeah, very helpful. And I think it's sort of consistent with what everyone's saying, and also a plug for Wow Momos, because the number of times Wow Momos has been mentioned, I'm pretty sure all of us are going to end up trying it later. Of course, please.
I have a question for you, Sidhant. So when we talk about e-commerce and you see orders coming in from the metro cities and from the tier 2 cities, do you see more serious shoppers in tier 2 cities? Because I'm assuming that your return ratio would be much higher in the metros, but in tier 2, because they're new to e-commerce, are they portraying it in a more serious manner?
See, like I said, so when you kind of, the first order will always be fairly small, because first you don't have the confidence in the product, right? You don't even know what's going to come to your house, whether it's going to reach on time, whether the quality is going to be good or not. So when we look at our first orders, they're always lower ASP products, especially and it used to be the same case for metros as well back in the day when e-commerce had just started, right? People just didn't have confidence to put in their card details and order something. And now as we've grown confidence, we are now confident enough to buy products worth 1 lakh rupees online as well, right? So yes, as the customer becomes more and more confident in tier 2, tier 3 cities, they do like to, for example, there will be a sale event and they would like to kind of pick up a lot of stuff so that they don't have to shop very often, right? Because still the penetration is growing slowly. When it comes to logistics, it takes longer for us to deliver products to tier 2, tier 3 cities. It's getting better with the Kirana networks kind of increasing, logistic partners kind of going deep inside every city or every village now. So yes, right now they are, but as the network keeps getting better, as products reach the consumer faster, they're not going to be piling up too much. They're going to buy as per their requirements and as per their needs.
I'm conscious of the time, but I'm just going to take a minute or so before I open it up. Anupam, any concluding thoughts from your side?
So I think enough has been said about the different aspects of India, the consumerism. I think just to conclude on a positive note, I feel the consumer in growing India or post-COVID India is very exciting. A lot of I would say, self-sustained approaches coming. People are loving Indian products and they feel proud in consuming Indian products, and I think that should drive further consumption up.
I'm sure we can continue for 30 seconds or a minute if they allow us. Please conclude your thought.
So I think I see a very positive outlook from Indian consumer in terms of both consumption economy in last few months, what we have experienced, and also focus of a lot of manufacturing coming back to India in terms of development, which was kind of getting eroded to China, and also consumer mindset to consume Indian products, which was earlier not there. 5-10 years back, people would just want to buy, like people talk about premiumization, that only international products were good at. I think that confidence coming to Indian brands speaks a lot more, and I think I see a great future in the next few years.
Lovely. Thank you. And will you join me all in thanking all the panelists for their time? Thank you all so much for your insights. Very, very helpful. Thank you.